Warning: the content of this podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. We discuss activities that are illegal and/or potentially dangerous and do not endorse or encourage anyone to attempt, recreate, or participate in the actions described in this show. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Travel Stories Unpacked, the travel podcast where we talk about all things from the silly to the serious and everywhere in between. I am your host, Ashley Newton, and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. I really appreciate it. And you guys, can you believe we are already like midway through November? That is so crazy to me. And it got me thinking about Black Friday. Black Friday has really mellowed out, I feel. It's not what it used to be, but it used to be a chance where you could see people act the craziest, the most out of pocket, the most wild, the most ridiculous behavior you've ever seen used to happen on Black Friday. I gotta say, I'm not missing that part. It's cool that that's done, but it got me thinking about some of the people watching experiences that you can have, right? And how travel is so good for that, and seeing people just wild out in what we're gonna call bad tourist behavior. So that's what we're unpacking today. And here to help me with this is my guest, Joanne, who I would say is a conscientious traveler, right? You try to always make sure that you conduct yourself in a responsible way when you're traveling. So Joanne, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks. I'm so happy to finally be on.
I'm so happy to have you on. And I think you are the perfect person to talk about this because let's be honest, I mean, you're an experienced traveler and you've seen some stuff in your day that makes you, I mean, either just scratch your head or be like, what are these people thinking? Or just like, do you get secondhand embarrassment for people?
Yeah, I do. And the thing is, when you mentioned conscientious traveler, yes, but I also started my travels way back when we didn't have the technology and the phones and everything is instantly up on some social platform. So I might have been guilty of a few things once or twice in my life, nowhere near what I'm going to mention here, but it's not recorded anywhere.
For sure. Well, and I think sometimes, being a bad tourist or, just conducting yourself in an improper way when you're on vacation, it's sort of like up to each person to determine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like when I think I'm behaving super normal and well within the realm, somebody might be like, girl, you should have stopped a margarita ago. Like you're having too much fun on the dance floor. And like, to me, that's all fun of vacation. Like it's okay to let loose, but I think there is a line. So, and it's so different for all of us. So I want to share some stuff that I've seen in the last couple years and get your opinion on, is this bad tourist behavior or is this just something that specifically like gets under my skin?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll judge you then.
Yes. Okay, perfect. All right. So we're just going to dive right in. So, one thing that really stood out to me because I was the only person really in this situation who found it inappropriate. So I was on a cruise a couple years ago and there was, just like a bar over like, the aft or whatever, and everybody's hanging out and having drinks and it's very casual. It was a bit more of like a laid back cruise line. There wasn't a bunch of entertainment or anything. It was really quiet in this back area. And then this guy shows up with his acoustic guitar. And I just from the bottom of my soul was like, please, God, no, please don't do it. But then he did it and he just played and he sang and he sang and he played on his guitar. And there were definitely people there who were into it, who were like, spontaneously gathered around him and like making suggestions. I was not one of them.
Did he have a tip jar?
I avoided eye contact because I knew that my facial expressions were not going to be hidden and I was just going to be looking at him very seethingly, very disapprovingly. So I just tried to ignore it. I don't think there was a tip jar though. Does that change your opinion?
Yeah, that would have been the height of bad behavior that you're not even hired by the cruise line, but you're just going to, I'm a legend in my own mind.
For
Let me perform.
For sure a cruiser. For sure not a part of the cruise line.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to give a thumbs down on that.
Thumbs down, right? Okay, that was bad behavior. And like, I think that's hard too, because like some people seemed into it, but I would feel like the majority, well, I don't know. Like I said, I'm the only one that voiced how much it upset me, but like, I also really don't like live music when I'm not expecting it. So there was a lot of elements there for me that I was like, dude, like, read the room. Like, I hate this. All right. Another thing I saw recently, also on a cruise, which is just the best people watching. Right?
Oh. You probably don't want to travel with me because I'm a smidgen opinionated.
Oh, no, I love it. I love it. And like, I try to, to each their own, whatever. But this blew my mind. So on some Royal Caribbean ships, they have Central Park, which is my favorite part of the ship because it's so peaceful. It's so quiet. You can just escape there. And not quiet all the time. Sometimes they have live music and whatever, which I know I just bashed, but it was really nice. It was really nice when I was there because it's a vibe, right? So I'm just minding my own business and to support a lot of like the plants because they're all real plants. They'll have like these little metal structures and, just like little architectural things that make you feel like you really are in a park somewhere, right? And these kids are crawling on them like it's a jungle gym. Like it's like, like the wrought iron style. And it's just like these little like metal poles or whatever. And like a trellis. And like they are climbing on it like it's a jungle gym. It's clearly not a jungle gym. And the parents are just drinking, just having their drinks, not at all paying attention to their kids. And I happen to like look over at one of the bartenders who's watching this kid literally climb the bar. And they just smile. They can't do anything. They can't say anything. And the parents were like just completely checked out. So to me, that was really bad tourist behavior. But what do you think?
It's another thumbs down in my book. Well, speaking of book, because someday, and don't steal this, anyone, I'm going to write a book called The Preventable Tragedy. And it's going to be multiple chapters of how to avoid that. So instead of waiting for something to happen, and now it's like, oh, these poor victims.
Right. Well, and it didn't just upset me because they were ruining my vibe, although they were.
Well, they were being disrespectful.
Yeah.
And you're right. The staff on board are less likely to chastise them because, number one, they don't want to have the parents upset because that's future revenue the brand might miss.
Right.
So it's unfair to put people who are trying to do a job in an awkward position.
Exactly. They can't do anything.
Kids in hot tubs get on my nerves too.
Yes, especially the adult only areas of anywhere. Like, dude, read the sign. Like, get out of here. But like, as just an anxious person, it genuinely made me upset because I wanted to like intervene so that they didn't get hurt. But that's not my place. That'd be super weird. So I didn't. But like that to me is just like, watch your kids, man. Like watch your kids. I don't know how else to say it. I feel very strongly about it. And it's just, it's just pinnacle bad behavior to me is just not being aware of your surroundings and not caring how it impacts the other people around you. Ooh, Joanne's like, girl, we're gonna get into it. All right, and then the last thing I noticed, which is really small and not something exclusive to travel at all, it could happen anywhere, whether you're going to the movies or whether you're going to like a Broadway show. But what is the deal with people being on their phones during performances now? And I'm not.
Stole one.
Oh, did I? See, okay, so this is rampant behavior. And you guys, I'm not talking about like you walk by and there's some street performers and you want to grab a photo. Like, I feel like, yes, there are definitely obvious times where it's like, oh, okay, like I can have my phone out. I can take a photo. I can check my email or whatever. But this was a show where they closed the doors, the lights, like, the lights were down. The second you brought up your phone and had it out for the entire show, need I even mention? It illuminated the whole area around you because we're in this pitch black theater and I'm watching Mamma Mia for the first time and I was still having a great time. I did not let it ruin my time, but I was just like, is this a thing now? Do we not care about preserving the integrity of and respecting the performers and like everything that's been put in front of you? So that just it made me so mad. And I was at the show all by myself. So I couldn't even do the, like nudge, nudge, look at this loser over here. Like I couldn't revel in it with anybody. I just had to sit there and eat it and not like express my dismay in any way, which it was hard for me. But I'm guessing you agree though, that is bad.
Absolutely. And I got to confess, I did do a bad thing. But again, it was not intentional. Some years ago, my sister bought me tickets, she and I, to go to a tribute band for Annie's favorite band, the Beatles. And I was so thrilled. My sister got us front row seats. And because I didn't plan it, I was not aware of the, recommended no flash photography.
Oh, no.
So here I am thinking that Paul is giving me eyes when in actuality, he was kind of like, who's taking pictures of me? Didn't they read the sign, no photos? So one of the people came over and kind of gave me the high sign. I was like, oh my gosh, I was mortified.
Yeah.
But yes, had I made the plans though, I would have been more aware that there were guidances that I should have adhered to. So, guilty.
Right. Well, and I feel like concerts, a lot of times it is hit or miss.
Mm.
So, like, you might not know. In this instance, it was very clear, and they had it posted everywhere that you should not be on your phones, you should not be taking photos. But, like, there's a group that I love, Straight No Chaser. They're an a cappella group. They really encourage that. They even joke they don't care if you live stream the whole concert. So it's
Mhm.
like, pay attention.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just, absorb your surroundings and use some common sense. And, like, I'm coming off very heated already, but it's just like,
I
I don't
love the show
yeah,
already.
I don't know. It's just like, and I'm sure, like you said, we're not all perfect.
No.
Like, I am sure I have embarrassed myself and acted inappropriately. And, like, honestly, I just hope in that case somebody feels comfortable enough to tell me, like, hey, that really wasn't the right move for the situation, or like, girl, that was embarrassing. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. Because if you don't know, you can't correct.
No, the problem is though, people are so combative by nature nowadays. We've unleashed this bad behavior in general. And again, that's endorsing bad behavior that they feel justified, that they were slighted in some way, or their enjoyment of something was curtailed. And it's like, but really understand that this isn't the time or place for that. And if someone were to bring it up to you, like the usher did to me,
Mhm.
ooh, I was mortified. I couldn't look Paul in the eye. Couldn't no can do.
Yeah, I think you bring up an interesting point though about just how brazen
Mm.
things have become, and almost how it's like, how dare you speak to me? Like, it's just like,
Right.
dude, like, we're all just trying to have a good time. Like, I don't know, but
Well, that's which leads perfectly. Disrespectful, inappropriate, selfishness. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. Of course, it goes to the selfie.
all right, let's get into it.
Got to have proof that I was somewhere.
Mhm.
And a few years ago, I was, really upset. It was on the internet, of course, with young women with the fish lips, right? And the posing on the railway lines that dead end at the gates of Dachau and Auschwitz. Now, if you need someone to tell you that that's kind of like hallowed ground, that you need to be, I have been to concentration camps on tours, and you're almost brought to tears. If you're not, then you're maybe not human. But the idea of understanding the magnitude of something that destructive, and you're going to be over there, posing with the boyfriend, saying, "Oh, do this and do that." It was totally 150%, maybe 1,000% inappropriate. You really needed to be posing on railway tracks at a concentration camp just to prove you were there.
I
Kills me.
truly have no words, because I don't understand how that even occurs to somebody as like, oh, this is a thing that we should do. And I understand maybe if you want to take photos to remind you of the
They encourage
experience.
that, and you could buy the booklet too at the end of the tour if you wish.
Yeah. But like a selfie and a pose selfie in the thing, that's just so incredibly not the time.
But it's also, and I'm not bashing young women, but the whole I have to look cute and sexy. What are you pursing your lips at the camera when you're in a concentration camp?
Right.
It's just crazy.
And again, like, I understand if you want to look your best. I understand, but like, do that maybe at a cafe, on a beach. Like, it's nobody cares about your like modeling at this incredibly historic and reverent place. Like, this isn't literally saying this isn't the time or place is such an understatement. Like, it is a gross infraction on just being a decent person if you think that was
and that's just tip of the iceberg. You could figure plenty of places like that.
Yeah.
Where that would come into play. And another one, I kind of was hinting at it earlier. There's a region in Italy called the Cinque Terre, and they're all little villages, curving around. And they start up high and then they go down and they're at ocean level. And there's a lot of rocks and formations there, and people, of course, have to have their picture taken.
Right.
And I kid you not, I wasn't there when it happened, but I stood on that very area. And a young woman, I believe on her honeymoon, gets swept out to sea by a rogue wave because she needed to get her picture.
Yeah, this is so
is it worth your life?
And like, so part of my job here at KHM Travel Group is to help educate travel agents on how they can get, good photos and videos of their travels for their marketing. And I will tell you, one of the first things that we always stress is safety, because you can sort of get caught up in, well, I need this perfect shot or I need whatever. And it's like, you don't. you really absolutely, I promise you, if it is putting your safety in danger or somebody else in danger, it could even just be as simple as like when you're walking to make sure you don't just dead stop, look around, like move to the side before you line up for your shot. Like it's just, it's never worth it. And the fact that like to this day, we always just have to stress with everybody, like just remember, and you know, our agents are great. So they're not the ones doing this, but it's still a part of just the discussion is to make sure that people are using, you know, that safety element and not prioritizing just the perfect shot.
Right. Because now she leaves a husband because they're on their honeymoon, you know, and the grief and the terror that, you know, must have, where is she? You know, it took several days for them to recover her body.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So you have parents, and it's like, who do you wish to blame? They want someone to be responsible for their pain and suffering. And it's just like, Mother Nature isn't going to take a checkbook out and give you compensation for the loss of your family member. I know it sounds cold, but the reality is it's a preventable tragedy. It'll be in my book.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we have to take some responsibility as travelers.
This one might shock you, this next one.
Okay.
And again, 2 instances, because I always give you more than you asked for. Very famous structure in Rome, the Colosseum. It's been around since literally the beginning of time, right? Some chap named Ivan, we know it's Ivan because he was chiseling in Ivan and Haley into the facade of the Colosseum. And Haley was filming while he was doing it. So not only was he doing that, which was completely wrong, they had to record it for her.
Well, and like at this point,
because it's got to go on the internet, of course.
You're recording a crime,
but the piece de resistance.
You can't do that.
I didn't know it was that old and that significant a place.
Wait, that was the argument?
That was the argument.
That was their defense?
That was the defense.
All right. I mean, this is a line as old as time, but like ignorance is not a defense, dude.
Right?
You can't just be like, oh, nobody told me.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
shut up.
Same thing in the town of Pompeii, you know, destroyed in the 1st century, blah, 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 blah. So in the House of the Vestal Virgins, not just Haley and Ivan, this guy carved the initials and the year of his entire family in the frescoes of something that was buried in the 1st century. And I don't know what his rationale was. More like, well, we wanted to like we were here. Like, remember back in the day, you know, Kilroy was here, or you know, things of that nature. Yeah. So they had to, you know, again record the fact that they were here.
And I'm not laughing because it's funny, because it's not. I'm laughing because my brain doesn't understand. It truly does not understand. Like, you know, we're talking about bad behavior. We shouldn't have to explain that also includes vandalism and crime. Like, of course, you can't do those things. And like, you know, it's bad, right? You shouldn't, like, although I grew up with the whole, you don't carve a tree, you don't carve your name in a rock, you just like, don't do that sort of thing. So like, even if you're the sort of person that's fine with that, everywhere else in the world, you know, like park benches are up for grabs and, you know, you got to put your little stickers on everything. Can we leave like the Colosseum out of it? Can we leave Pompeii out of it? Like, these places should garner some respect. And that's just, now I'm all heated. But like, what is wrong with people?
Would it surprise you to know that these were not Americans that did this?
You know,
both situations came from another country.
I feel a smidge of pride about that, and I shouldn't. But I'm like, it's sort of like, whew, it's like a relief. It's like, thank God that wasn't us for once. Oh man. Anything else you got, Joanne?
Yeah, I'll talk fast because I know we're probably pressed for time. So my other favorite is wild animals.
Oh no.
They're called wild for a reason, right? So just because they're in a national park like Yosemite, for example.
Yeah.
You don't go pet a bison.
Jeez. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just because they're there, it's not a petting zoo that, okay, well, hey, it's a park. They should be domesticated and whatever. And I just love it when I see videos of the bison, you know, bamming someone's car or flipping a dude over the, you know, that's the witch in me. I like that sort of thing.
Well, and like just doing what bison do. Are you mad? Like, oh my God. I'm going to need like a big dose of faith in humanity after this episode, because like, I didn't even think about that, but you're so right.
Of course I'm right. But I even got a better one. Now this is a secondhand. My husband years ago traveled, he That's how we met through travel. But
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
cool.
oh that's another story for another. That's another book. But he's traveling with his good buddy, and being teachers, they would travel extensively in the summer. So one year, don't ask me what motivated them. We're going to go to Trinidad and Tobago, two of the most obscure Caribbean islands you're going to find. They're almost clear on down to South America. Well, they go out at night. Apparently, it's turtle egg season. So you have these massive sea turtles coming to shore and digging the hole. And turtles aren't fast. So this is a monumental effort for these critters that live in the ocean year round. They come on to lay the eggs. And some of these leatherback turtles are ginormous, like the size of a small Volkswagen.
Oh my God.
So my husband and his friend eyewitnessed people climbing on the back of the turtle as she's laying her eggs in the sand. And again, taking pictures. Back in the day where you had to send the roll of film out, another antique, a roll of film, wait for it to come developed, and now you could come and look at it and see. And you couldn't even post it anywhere. So maybe those reasons were even more selfish than the current one. I got to put it out on social media so everyone knows I sat on a turtle's back. But back then it was just heartbreaking to think that this poor turtle, and what's she going to do? Turn around and snap him? That would have been good though.
Yeah.
Grab him and flip him and whatever. But yeah, he told that story, and he'll still tell it. If he was here, he'd say that would be one of his things that really ticked him off one of the biggest times.
Was it adults doing this or children?
No, it was adults.
Full-grown adults.
We'll call them adults, but
going for a turtle ride. Do you hear this?
Yeah.
What? Like, okay. I mean, sure, that happened, and that's something that happened, and that person has to live with that forever.
And the other thing ties back to what you kind of said earlier, that when people are using their phones or anything else inappropriately, like if you're on a scheduled tour or you're booking a sightseeing excursion and you are not with just your own party, you're with other people. You have a bus driver, you have a tour guide, you have someone that's going to be, you're paying for this experience, and this person's going to be there giving the benefit of their knowledge and experience and making it come to life for you. And you have people that are either on the phone or, again, asking ridiculous questions, not giving the person a chance to, do their spiel, and then, hey, any questions? And then follow up. The ones that keep interrupting because they either somehow need to show, I know a little bit about this, I want to show off. So they'll ask the question that they already know the obvious answer to. That ticks me off. And
it's
lastly,
like they're quizzing the tour guide.
Yeah. I'm putting you on order. What do you call it? On the spot here.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
But I have to follow up because when you talked about the being on the phone thing, I think I've become so desensitized to that because it fills me with rage. But like the amount of people that will not only just talk on the phone in the middle of a crowded space, in the middle of an airport.
Elevator.
Yeah, but like, okay, that's obnoxious enough. But like, okay, we get it. Sometimes you get a phone call, you have to handle it right away. Why is it on speaker? Yeah. Why are you talking to this person on speaker in a public place? Whether it be somewhere where you're on vacation or on the beach or the grocery store, just please stop doing this. Like, the technology exists. Use the little earbuds. Go back to a Bluetooth. Do whatever you have to do, but stop talking to people on speakerphone. It is disgusting. Go ahead, Joanne. What else you got?
Well, up there, of course, again, is lateness.
Ooh.
No tolerance for lateness.
Please elaborate. Are you talking about people that like miss their like cruise and then like blame the cruise line for not like waiting for them?
There's that, yeah. But just not being mindful of other people, especially if it's a planned event. You know you're not supposed to walk in church a half hour after mass starts. It's rude to the congregation. It's rude to the person conducting the mass. Showing up late to someone's wedding, not so good. It's just the stupid little things like that. Well, they're not really stupid, but but then on a larger scale, like you say, someone is late. If you get to the airport a half an hour after the plane left, that's on you. The airline owes you nothing.
Right.
They don't even owe you a courtesy of booking you on a new flight. You're a no-show in their mind.
Absolutely.
They'll cancel the rest of your entire trip. And it's in no one reads fine print. Let's call it what it is. But when you cannot sign up for your cruise online registration without saying, yes, I've checked that I've read and agreed to all the terms and conditions. You can't get any further without having checked that. So you're basically saying, I didn't read any of this, but I'm agreeing to it all anyway. And it clearly states if you miss a port, if there's a delay, a medical situation, weather that reroutes a ship, you're not entitled to anything. The fact that the cruise line gives you a little bit of Hey, you know what? We had to miss that port. We're going to give everybody $25 per person on board credit. Go have fun in the casino or go have a cocktail or two on
Yeah.
us. They're trying to make amends to take the sting out of it. But theoretically, they don't even owe you an explanation as to why they alter a course. And they certainly don't owe you anything if you miss the ship because you were at Carlos and Charlie's knocking backyards all afternoon.
Yeah.
hmm
Yep.
Not that I've ever done that because I'm not a beer person.
That's the reason why. But and I think number one is like we understand, at least I like I get it. You can make a mistake, stuff happens, but it's the outrage, it's the vitriol, it's the entitlement and the pay me back and
Mm,
you owe me and why didn't you wait for me or why didn't you fix everything? It's like, dude, you're not the only person on vacation here. You're not the only person using this transportation. You're not the only person in the world. This might come as a shock to you.
right? You're not the sun and everyone revolves
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that is there is just this, as you say, this sense of entitlement and the rules apply to everyone else and not me. And that's where
Right.
the disrespect comes in. It's like,
Absolutely.
yes, anyone could be late. You could be stuck in taxi, stuck in traffic, getting you to the airport, your Uber was late or whatever. So sometimes it's truly you are a victim of the circumstance.
For
But
sure.
when it's your fault, and it just sets that chain reaction, and it's still, how many flights have I been on in my life? Way too many to count. I always try to give the flight attendant, unless they're putting it on the video screen, look up, look at the guy or the gal, and they have a job to do because if there's a crisis, that's going to be the person you're looking to.
Yes.
You're going to be screaming up and down the aisles looking for help, and you totally diss the person that is your go-to.
I
And I just
completely
think you
agree.
have to just give them the courtesy of looking them, acknowledging, shaking your head a little bit.
It's minutes. It's minutes of your time. And it's a respect thing. This person is just doing their job to help you, to educate you, to support you. And yeah, I don't know. It's bad.
Yeah, it is.
But we covered the whole gambit today, I think, from sort of silly annoyances that tourists and travelers can do all the way to downright like illegal, dangerous, like obviously KHM Travel Group does not condone any of these activities across the gambit. I don't feel like that needs to be said, but I'm gonna throw it out there. But I think the heart of the message is this is not going to ruin your whole vacation if you watch this, right? Like I've seen all sorts of people act out of pocket. It might dampen my mood for a minute, but it's never ruined my whole vacation or my whole travel experience. But if you are not the observer of the bad tourist behavior and you are the perpetrator of the bad tourist behavior, just why?
Yeah.
Is this going to change your opinion at all? Have we called you out on any things that you do that we offered a helpful perspective? I hope so. I hope that maybe even if we can just deter one person from
Yeah.
stopping and taking that unnecessary selfie or, not understanding they're in a public place when they pull out an acoustic guitar, then I feel like we will have done our jobs today.
Mhm. Well, and you don't want to risk being in my book.
Absolutely not. But Joanne, thank you so much for coming on and
I
talking
loved
about
it.
this.
Thanks for having. Let's think of a few more ideas because there's a lot more. That
Oh
came
my
from.
gosh, I know. And we want to, of course, hear from you guys, just your opinions maybe about what we've talked about or any bad tourist behavior or traveler behavior that you've seen. How do you feel about it? How do we move forward? Is it a big deal? Are we just, are we just grumpy?
Yeah. No, little annoyances are excusable to an extent. But if anyone has any feedback on saying like, yeah, that would be something that would really tick me off. Again, like if you witness a destruction or if you witness someone real, I mean, even we don't even have to leave the country. You find this stuff here. I remember, again, what got me on the preventable tragedy topic was, I believe it was in Pittsburgh, and this family with children, i.e. toddler, the child was propped up on top of the enclosure for the African wild dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to tell you what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Oops, the baby falls into it's again, you're chuckling, but it's a sad story because the child was mauled.
Yeah,
and so now the zoo has to settle out of pocket because they don't want to blemish on their reputation. And it's like, how many of those animals had to be destroyed because they were acting like the wild animals that they are? So that really bothers me, things of that nature. And then there's a GoFundMe page or anything like that. It's like you brought this on yourself.
Right. Well, and you're right, because it does happen everywhere. This isn't exclusive to travel. I guess people just be misbehaving all the time. But it reminded me of another story, which kind of put it all together, of dad taking his child into an elephant enclosure to get a better photo.
Oh,
they wanted a closer with an elephant inside a zoo. So, you know, it really is tragic. It really is. And I tend to, you know, sort of just like laugh when I'm uncomfortable or like at the sheer lack of my understanding about how we got here. But it's a serious
Mhm.
matter. And I know we talk about this show that we go from the silly to the serious and everywhere in between, and I feel like we did that today.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm happy to come back and entertain you more because yes, we tried to make a little humorous look to this, but the reality is, you know, think about the places that you are. And, it's kind of hokey when you say, take only photographs, leave only footprints. You shouldn't be vandalizing, a structure like the Colosseum or something, similarly old, but similarly steeped in history. And, we wouldn't want people coming to our country and, knocking another crack in the Liberty Bell or, defacing Independence Hall. Of course, I'm from Philadelphia, so I know these structures, but, you know, that would offend me very greatly if I saw somebody doing something so awful in a city that is probably the top 2 or 3 of, the start of the democracy of this country. And everything it stands for, you're slapping it in the face when you have to do something so ridiculous just to get a memento or a picture or whatever. That's what they sell magnets for your refrigerator. They sell the booklet with the pictures in it, so you don't have to worry about is mine blurry or not. So there's so much you can do in a positive way when you're visiting places, home and abroad. But think of everywhere you go as someone's precious home, possession. You wouldn't borrow someone's car and get it in an accident and walk away without offering a restitution for it. So, again, if you're willing to do the little things, what else are you capable of doing? That's what's scary sometimes.
And on that note, no, I mean, you bring up a good point, and it is a slippery slope. All we can do is hope that maybe, this message is going to reach a few people and maybe inspire people to just, like you said, treat it with respect, treat places that you visit as if they are your own home.
Mhm.
And if that's how you treat your own home, because there's going to be people that have that point of view, well, then treat it how I'd treat my home. All right, everybody.
All right.
This was a big topic. And like I said, we really want to know your thoughts and opinions about it. So share them with us in the comments or anywhere on social media using our hashtag Travel Stories Unpacked. And keep coming back as we're going to keep unpacking more things about travel. This podcast is brought to you by KHM Travel Group, a leading host agency for independent travel agents. Go to khmtravel.com to learn more.